That's them, the European Shooting Stars 2021. Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second live talk about the art of casting. I'm Sonja Heinen from EFP, European Film Promotion, and EFP is an international network organization of all the national film institutes from all over Europe, from 37 countries altogether. And together, our common goal is to promote our European films and our European talent throughout the world. One of our most known programs is Shooting Stars, in which we are now, for which every year 10 actors and actresses from all over Europe are selected in order to be introduced for the international press, the industry, and the public, usually in Berlin at the International Film Festival. This year, we are mostly online, which is a little bit a pity, but on the other hand, gives us a great opportunity to involve more people to listen to our talks and the panel program. So I now give the word to Karin Dix from the Shooting Stars team.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to this panel discussion. Shooting Stars is a program which is kind of twofold because once we have a very nice award ceremony normally at the Berlinale Palast during the festival, thanks to the support of the festival. And the other branch is a very strong industry-related one. So we connect the Shooting Stars with producers and casting directors and talent agents in various settings, and this day was today. So we are very, very happy to have welcomed so many casting directors who had interest in the actors, and two very, very special ones you are going to meet on this panel. I'm very happy that they spend their time with us. So please let me introduce to you, first of all, Evie Kaufmann. Evie Kaufmann is a casting director based in New York City and a proud mother of two sons. She has worked with many respected directors on much acclaimed films and television shows. In 2005, Evie was honored as a Casting Directors of the Year at the Hollywood Film Festival, and in 2013 received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Subtitle Film Festival in Ireland. Her achievements have been recognized by several awards, amongst them an Emmy for her work at HBO's show Succession and the pilot of Showtime's Damages, and she has received further nominations for the Emmys and the British Independent Film Award. I know that this year she is a multi-nominated casting director for the Artists Award, not to forget. And she was also honored with a place on Variety's New York Women's Impact List 2018 for her excellence in the film of film and television casting. Today, she's here as a casting director of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So welcome, Evie.
Thank you.
So her partner on the panel today is Kelly Valentine Hendry. Kelly, as I learned, is from a small town of the north of Scotland called, I don't know if I can pronounce it properly, Elgin. Is it Elgin?
Yes.
Yeah. So she started out as an assistant and then associate with Hubbard Casting, well known, and then our most beloved Gail Stevens, because Gail was for many years part of the project here in Berlin. She worked with Victor Jenkins, and she worked on Broadchurch episodes, took Fleabag from pub read-through to pilot to hit first season. This is very complicated, and many others. Now Kelly works independently with her team at KVH Casting. They continue to work on Bridgerton, which Amazon, Brussels for Apples, The Bay and Manchester for ITV, and Cobra and Gangs of London for Sky. They just completed the Sky Cinema feature Save the Cinema, starring Samantha Morton and Jonathan Pryce, and the Fox Searchlight project, Untitled Murder Mystery. They're based now in Covent Garden in London. Welcome, Kelly.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So last, I would like to introduce today's moderator. Moderator is Caprice Crawford, which is an American producer, talent agent, and actress, nowadays based in Berlin. She has been acting and singing in front of the camera since the age of 16. She started to attend the William Esper Studio in New York in 1990 and soon started landing professional acting roles alongside well-established actors in both TV shows and feature film. While working as an actress in Los Angeles, her interest began to shift and she became captivated by what was going on behind the camera. She began working as a photographer, creating beautiful headshots for creative talent, including many celebrities actors. In addition to her photography work, she began working as a film producer and talent scout for new faces. Since 2016, Caprice Crawford has been running the Crawford Talent International Actors Management Agency in Berlin. And today she's with us. Welcome, Caprice.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
So I hope you're going to enjoy the conversation, and we're very curious to hear what you have to say about the casting process.
I think I'm supposed to wait. So hello, I am so excited to be here with Kelly and Avi Kaufman. Kelly, I have to say Bridgerton, and My Rainy Day, Avi Kaufman. Oh my gosh, there's so much to say. Can we start with how did you both wanting to become casters?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Okay.
Well, let me start with Avi though. Avi, you started in the early 80s, so let's start with that one.
Okay. Well, I originally went to New York City to become a dancer, which I love and enjoy, but I'm not a professional dancer. Honestly, I fell into it. It's kind of a long story that I won't bore everyone, but I've been lucky enough. I fell into it. It's a boring story.
But you worked your way up, you know.
I did and I didn't. I started in advertising, casting, and I knew I wanted to go into features. Knocked on a lot of doors that did not open, so I started doing extras, then I started doing location casting, and I went on one film, and John Sayles, the director, had sort of found me there and invited me to do his next film, which was called Mate One. Met a producer who produced Jodie Foster's first movie, and that was my big break. I cast Little Man Tate for Jodie Foster. So I didn't get to work with other casting directors. Everything just started going after sort of climbing the ladder.
Yeah, so you taught yourself. And Kelly, you started with the Hubbards. That was the first thing.
Did, and I'm exactly the same. I fell into it. I started with the Hubbards because I was in theatre and I was a stage manager because I wanted to be a theatre director. So I thought, oh, stage management, I'll learn everything without having to actually, go to be trained to be a director. And I didn't have a job to go to. And I was living with quite a top agent now at United Agents. And we were flatmates in Clapham, next door to Maria Margulies, if you believe it. And she said, Dan Hubbard needs an assistant kind of tomorrow. I was like, okay, I'll go meet him. I met him for a coffee. And before I knew it, I was there and thrown into the kind of the deep end. And now I'm here. And just from, I spent 3, 4, 5, 6 years being under, as you heard in that blurb, the Hubbard and Gale. So gosh, I was so lucky. And then as things happen, as they do, eventually I had my opportunity to do my own thing and kind of had to start from scratch. Obviously, you go from under the banner of these wonderful people and you're so used to being, involved in these huge projects. And then all of a sudden you're by yourself and there's just a bit of tumbleweed and you think, That's it, never again. I'll never get a job. And then through the kindness of other casting directors who couldn't do a job and they passed it on to me, Lucy Bevan being one of them, I started getting my first jobs. And then, proof, you get head down, work hard and climb the ladder. And
which job
here
would
we
you
are.
say? Yeah, it's amazing. Have you both ever worked together on a project?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet, no. Gosh, imagine, I'd be so lucky.
Because we see so many bi-coastal casters working together, and then, oops, there's another caster attached to a project. Now, I just wanted to ask Avi Kaufman about Ma Rainey Black Bottom. How did that come to you, that project from Mr. Sir Wolf?
Just a magical phone call from George C. Wolfe, which couldn't have been more flattering. And I had seen the play years before. Chadwick and Viola came with it. Okay. And I was truly just very proud to be part of it. I think it's an exceptional film.
Yeah, is that your first kind of musical drama you've ever casted, or you've done many before? But no. with Mr. Wolfe, this is the first time.
Yes, with Mr. Wolfe, yes. Yes. First time with him. Yes.
So all the other people you casted in that project, and how was that process? It was before Corona. It was before COVID. Was there live, or was it straight off us? Because there's
a lot, and there were people that actors that are in the band that George had worked with before. So he knew that he wanted, various Coleman Domingo and Glenn. The role of Desi May was a role that it was an interesting process because we knew she had to have the flirtatious, but then she also was Viola's. I don't know if anyone has seen the film, but
of course, yeah.
She was also she was Viola's singer, so she would sing with Viola. So she was, and this is back in the 20s, and with jazz and the blues, it was a brilliant time for music. But there was still, segregation was happening. So there was a lot of influence in a lot of areas in the world hitting at you. Taylor came in and just gave it her all. And, you never know. I mean, Kelly, I'm sure you know this, you never know exactly who the director and producer are. We can do our job. We can push and push, but we never knew. So it was so much fun to find out that Taylor was about to get that job.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when Docent, he came in with a speech impediment. I mean, a lot of people didn't see the film, obviously. So,
right.
How was that?
I've seen so many actors for that role, and that is so hard to do. He didn't have a stutter.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he didn't have to stutter.
Yeah, he did not have a stutter. And so I always want to, I asked George if my office could, really research which kind of stutter was he looking for. And then I wanted to give the young man a clip of things so he could really inhabit that quality of, and, where it comes from, because it's an emotional, it's a struggle. It was one of his first films. I think it was his first film. So that was really, that was so much fun. That was so much fun.
So ultimately he did the audition. He didn't do a self-tape. He came live to the audition right away.
No, because he was in Los Angeles and we were auditioning in New York. This is before COVID, but we did a Skype reading with him after he went on tape, self-taped.
And then he came back. You did a recall and then he came back, or?
No. I put him on the phone with George. We gave him like 3 notes. He probably went on tape 2 or 3 times. We gave him some notes. And then I put him on a call with George, and they flew him to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was an amazing role. He did an amazing thing, I have to say to that. What about Kelly? Just for a minute, I have to go back, switch and forward. Yeah, Bridgerton. How did this project come to have you ever worked with Shonda Rhimes before?
No, I hadn't. So you know, to this day, I'm still not entirely sure how it did come to me, because I'm still not sure if when I had my conversation with Shondaland, if it was an interview or not. So I got the job. So if it was an interview, then fine too. But I believe that what happened was Netflix UK was kind of setting up at the time. And like I said, I could be wrong about this. It's complete guesswork, but there's a point to this. And I had been very lucky to have been involved with Broadchurch and quite a few other productions at a company called Kudos, who make a lot of fantastic television in the UK. And I believe somebody from that company was part of the setup from Netflix. And I they'd never been a producer with me. It was someone more behind the scenes. And I remember, I think I'd given that person some advice one day at a read through. And somehow my kindness or what I said was right, or it went for something, because that person, I believe, said, I know who should cast this, Kelly. And before I knew it, my agent is telling me, Kelly, so there's this show called Bridgerton, here's the scripts, they'd love you to meet Shondaland. And I'm like, so, you know, kind of trying to work out how many other casting directors we're going to be meeting for that. Because sometimes, I mean, you obviously don't have to, Avi, but sometimes, you know, we
all do.
You know, you meet sometimes you don't. And so I had the meeting and I got the job, and it was just the weirdest, easiest process. And I was like, what if I hadn't given that guy some information just on that particular day, that I was just like, oh, I'm too busy, you know?
So the conversation was an easy process for you, having the meeting.
Yes, it was so easy, because honestly, you know, the scripts were such fun. I think with Bridgerton, you either get it or you don't. You're either going to enjoy it or you're going to just think it's ridiculous, and each to their own. So I was obviously on the side of, this is so much fun. I didn't realize that we're going to obviously be going into a massive pandemic, and how much even more fun it was going to be for people in a time like this, where you could just enjoy something. So yes, it was a very easy process, which is not the normal situation. So yeah, that came along quite easily. I was very lucky.
So, but that was also a lot of live casting, as you had self-tapes first, then live castings.
Yeah, so for those people that have seen it, you can appreciate that it's a very populated show.
Yes.
Would be an understatement. So it was a mixture. Everybody's story on Bridgerton is slightly different, because it was kind of open season. We didn't need names at all. And it was, we didn't have specifics to look for at all, apart from there were certain characters who Shondaland had said, we would like to cast a person of color in that role, just a couple. So that was the only time there was specifics. But for the most part, it was a bit of a free-for-all. And together we worked out the different dynamics of the families. There's a lot of conversations every Friday night. It was always Shondaland call, you know, for a good hour and a bit. We discussed things, mixture of people going on tape, a lot of self-tapes, a lot of taping in my office with my team. I would take sessions down at the studios, and it all culminated in all of their creatives were in Los Angeles. They all came to London, and we spent a week in studio, and we saw all of their favorites who they hadn't cast from tape, because quite a lot of people were cast from tape, and then some needed to be brought in and they saw in person. And we still didn't have the Duke and Duchess at this point. So it was kind of hairy.
How did you end up finding them?
Phoebe had read way back in the beginning, and then we had a read for another part, and she was still in our minds for the original, you know, for the part she played for the Duchess and for Daphne. And then we saw hundreds of boys for the Duke. It just wasn't quite working, and we couldn't put our finger on what exactly it was that wasn't working. And then Reggie became available, and then you saw what was missing. And there he was. And the chemistry read, and she was, you know, I think he was coming over anyway, but her bags were packed and she was here, I think about a week before we started. It was crazy. So it was amazing. Everyone's story different.
So Kelly and Avi, it seems like you both have reached a certain power of level of casting. I mean, to me, and maybe a lot of people out there as well. Do you feel like you can use that power to change certain minds in the director's eyes, production minds, to maybe cast a handicapped or person of color that doesn't really describe the person that they ultimately had in mind? Do you push for that, fight for that?
Well,
Is that possible?
it depends, for me, depends who I work with. One director that I've worked with lucky enough to work with for a long time is Ang Lee.
Oh yeah, I love it.
And so we have a real shorthand. He won't always follow, even when I beg. But we have a beautiful communication, and Kelly, I'm sure, I mean, we could all, no matter what field you are in your life, when you work with someone for a long time and you have that shorthand, it's gratifying.
Yeah, they probably purposely come to you because.
But others, it depends. But I try to not be too obnoxious, and I try not to beg too often. But when you believe in something, you really need to get behind it.
But can you recall maybe a project? You've done so many projects.
Oh, yes.
So many projects. Can you recall one project perhaps where that happened and it changed somebody's life as well? You guys also make dreams come true when these people prevail, So can you recall one of those projects?
I mean, yes, we've been lucky enough to cast a lot of actors' first roles.
Okay.
So we've been, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
And Kelly, what do you?
I think it's I think being a casting director, everyone thinks, not everyone, there's this perception that we sit on a sofa, quaff champagne, have a pashmina and say yes, no, and sometimes also be in the way of actors. It's completely the opposite. Part of the skill, and I think the people that become good casting directors, is that you have to learn so many ways to deal with people, there's nothing worse than if you've got something that you really want, and you can learn, as we talked about already, you've got to be careful on how you push certain things, and every project's different, and you have to navigate that quite quickly, depending if it's a new team that you're working with. Some people are open to your ideas, respect them, and you can push something through quite easily, and others, the more you push, it is a more certain way for that person to not get the part. And sometimes you have to time that perfectly. If a director says no, and you think, we'll come back there, you have to wait. And then you see your little moment, and then it goes. And that's really gratifying. But every project is different. Every director is different. And I work mostly in television recently, and there are so many people to get these actors through, and so many opinions. So whilst we can sit around a table and discuss inclusion and discuss where will we be making sure that we will be involving disabled actors, not just opportunity, the actual casting of those people. And then it has to go up and up and up and up. And I feel that those discussions start getting diluted the further up the chain they go. I think in movies, the directors have so much more power, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like if they really want something, they might get it past all the execs. Whereas in television, of course, there are big famous directors, but they don't have the autonomy, I think. I think it's a bigger team. I could be wrong, but.
How do you feel about that, Avi? Do you think?
It's ultimately, it's the studio's decision, but the studio has much respect for a lot of the, we work on Succession, and I see how they have a lot of respect for the writers and for the creator and for the showrunner, for Jesse Armstrong. And so I think there's certain situations where I think they respect one another. And so they really listen to why this particular actor is the one for the role. But, there's a lot of hidden ideas and agendas behind everything that we all do. So I think, I don't know, I'll speak for me and Kelly, we are probably so happy when certain people get certain jobs, and it's not easy. It's so hard to be it's hard to be a great actor, and it's a hard profession. It's a lot of rejection, and I think that we both just try to make actors feel as welcome as possible so they can do their best job every time they walk into the office.
And do you not find as well, like the rejection for actors just so much, like think about, I use an analogy quite a lot. You can be number two, you can be second choice your entire life and be, you know, second choice to hundreds of other people. So you are number two. If you are number two in a sports match, you still get on the, you know, you still get to play the guy in front of the crowd. And do you see what I mean? So you could not get your job, but you could be a tennis player who has beaten 6-love, but you could have been at game point, advantage every single, and the 6-love is not reflective of your, you know, input and how you nearly could have got it. I think that all the time. Oh, to be number two.
That sounds painful.
Yeah. But I feel that it's part of our job is to remember that. Remember, you know, because I've cast, you know, comedians in their first dramatic role because you remembered and paid attention to something that had happened when they were number two.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and so that's helpful for them to get their break.
Yes, some people have stayed number two for a long time and they learned through this and then they succeeded. Isn't that right? So we have to be positive, Kelly. Not
absolutely.
in pain, huh? For them.
Yeah.
Now's another question. On what point of level sometimes do you join a project? Is it sometimes where, you know, sometimes the funds are not there? I don't know. Sometimes that happens. Like for instance, Fleabag. What point did you join that project, Kelly?
So Phoebe had done the one woman show at Soho Theatre. Upstairs, no less, not even in the main bit. She was put upstairs, and went to see her in a casting capacity, not in a casting director for the show. And she mentioned when we were having a drink afterwards that she was going to be doing it for a TV. And I said, that's going to be really difficult because you're really unlikable. Like, you know, you like, not obviously Phoebe, the character of Fleabag, to be clear. So, and then we got a phone call. In fact, Victor took the call. I remember I was sitting down, he was opposite me, and I could hear it. And he said the word Fleabag and my ears pricked up. And I'm like, whatever that conversation is, the answer is yes, we have to be involved. So they wanted to take it to a read through and we did it in a pub. And Olivia Colman was there and quite a lot of the cast that you do see on television now. And they did it in the pub, and then it was commissioned very quickly for a pilot. Then we did the pilot straight into first season. And then not sad because Victor and I set up our own companies, and then that's why we didn't do the second season, because, well, how could you, who would you give Fleabag to? You know, it'd be really unfair, one or the other. So Olivia Scott Webb did the second season and did it amazingly and won an Emmy. So congratulations for that. That's brilliant. So yeah, we that was quite a process, seeing something slowly, bit by bit, become what it is. And then of course it became huge.
Yeah.
From a pub in just off Oxford Circus. You know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you took a great chance. Have that happened to you before, Avi? Is that also, at what point do you join a project?
Well, another project that is out now. We do teeny budgets to big budgets. We did this teeny movie called The Assistant. If you guys have seen that, you would, I'm sure everyone enjoy it. 24 hours in the day of an assistant, and it was originally based on Harvey Weinstein's company.
Mm-hmm.
And but the budget was that. And so, you know, we built that cast, and a lot of people wanted to be part of it, which was, you know, glorious because it got made. So the more people we were out, you know, when you add them, then the picture gets made. But
I'll make sure I'm going to watch it anyways. At what point, how is this whole COVID affecting your casting process right now? With the the traveling, it's huge, isn't it? So much different.
Well, one of the ways, and it's interesting because everyone is self-taping. I closed my office March 12th. It's almost a year, which I can't even believe. Everyone is self-taping. And what is so interesting, and Kelly, I wonder if you kind of get a kick out of it too. You're asking, this woman to tape, and her husband, who is probably, not in the profession at all, is the only reader she could have. And so you have these just people reading with actors that are not good readers. And half the time I want to say, mute them, but you need to hear the voice to make sense of the scene. But it's also, I'm looking at everyone's houses and I'm seeing how people live, and I'm getting to know you. But we've been lucky enough to work through the pandemic and have taken on casting some shows that I'm boggled that we were to pull off. Boggled. Yeah, and people are shooting now. Yeah. So everyone's self-taping.
Because with the limitation of the quarantine time, depending on the fees, I mean, you both are just not just casting, you're also sending out deal memos to the actors. They have to be done. Isn't that right? Isn't that correct? Before that, a lot of people don't know that it's not just casting, it's also getting the whole paperwork stuff done before the actual contract comes. It's all a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I spend most of my time doing paperwork, I think. Not most of it, but I think sitting in front of actors has become such a different experience. I don't know how we got it done before when we were in session for, when your showrunners arrive and you're in session all day. I don't know how we got anything done with the amount of paperwork. It's difficult with COVID. It's adding a hell of a lot of time. It's an obvious thing to say. It's adding an awful lot of time on the front end to any contract and each streamer or studio will have a different policy for their insurance, whether that's testing every day, every other day, we've got a 2-week lead in before travel. And then you've got 10 days. And then, of course, our country, depending on which country you're going into. I mean, we're 10 days here into a hotel. It's hard. And if you're coming over and say you've got, well, even you wouldn't bring a baby, I don't think, but a 2-year-old, and you're being kept. We're doing block bookings for entire periods of shows. You might only have 23 days, but we're booking you for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow. I'm sure people listening going, well, if I got the job, I would definitely do it. But when you think about it practically, you have to leave. It's not just like turn up. We're encouraging people to drive to studio and paying petrol. I mean, it's just completely changed. The self-taping aspect of it has its pros and cons, of course. We've been self-taping for a long time now, only just because a lot of our shows are like Last Kingdom, for example. We've been self-taping Scandinavian actors for 5-6 years now. And it's exactly it. I've been looking at Scandinavians' houses and just like,
you're getting design tips, but and that makes it all a little difficult when you have Scandinavian actors and they're supposed to, I don't know where you guys shooting, but for instance, if you shoot in England, you don't have enough over there to get them over there.
A lot's filming in Prague or Budapest. So it's when that happens, I love it because it means that we can have a free reign and bring people in from all over the place. A lot of actors, a lot of American actors get in touch, and they have been, especially for like Wheel of Time and for Bridgerton. And we do have restrictions on how many actors we can bring in from the States, just because we can't have that many SAG actors in a project.
That's true.
And there's a lot of Brits, especially the namier Brits who are members of SAG. We can't have that project switch on its head over to SAG. So that's the reason we don't bring people over. There is a system called Global Rule 1 that we can do, and we just pay into the pension pot. But the turnover hour is, you can't have half the cast adhering to one rule and then half the cast adhering to technically more favorable terms. And that's another thing I think us casting directors are always doing. We're always trying to make sure that the cast as a whole are on as much favorable terms as possible, so that when they're sitting in the chair or they've gone down the pub, and little loose lips are happening, you know, we know that we hope that we've done the right thing by everybody and there's no upset.
Yeah, making a fair deal with everybody. And how was that for you when you casted Shadow Play, Avi? But that was pre-COVID.
Oh, that was, self-tapes as well. We've been lucky enough to cast a lot. We did a film in London last year that was once again, it was all self-tape. So it's really not that different, except people are finding it hard to have people to read with, and people have to do a different, they're not going to go to a studio or a friend's house to self-tape. It's their own home. So lighting but I don't do that many Zoom readings. I think a lot of actors feel quite comfortable self-taping versus Zoom readings.
But you do those recalls with the directors and production when it comes down to it, do you?
Yeah, we have those are the big Zoom readings.
I have one question which leans to what we are talking right now. Somebody's asking, maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe you like to be at home. Do you miss being in a room with the actors, or do you think it will be the new normal to casting? I mean, this weight on self-tapes.
I mean, I'll jump in. I so miss it. And I also get frustrated because I feel like, and I'm sure Kelly knows this, sometimes you could just tweak something from an actor and then it's great. It's great, you know, and they get the job.
Yeah.
In this way, no, totally miss being in a room. Totally miss it. I think it's, I think it's going to be awkward when we just face-to-face people. It's, you know, you go outside with this and it's, you're at a distance. So yes, miss it.
And Kelly, how do you feel? You were talking about a reading last time when I met you on Zoom, a read through that you had, and you said it was the best thing you had, remember?
It was. I mean, look, I love going to read through. I don't know about you, but I always feel sick in my stomach at a read through. Like there's still that potential to go wrong. You're excited for everything. You can't believe everyone's here. It's usually the best time to book a holiday the next day to disappear. You know, it's when production disappears for at least a week. We had a read through, and it was in person, i.e. there was like 8 or 9 actors were in the room, but they were in their individual booths. And each of them had an individual camera pointing at them, and the sound was amazing. And the reason I said it was one of the best read-throughs I'd seen was because it felt like they were in the movie or the TV show already, because the quality was so good, and they could do that teleacting, you know, when you're whispering. Well, nice. You shouldn't do that, but you know what I mean? Like they could be really intense, and it wasn't just sitting at a table shouting and projecting so everyone could hear in the back. So it was really good. And there was no sandwiches and cakes. That was sad,
but that must have been a big project, because that cost money to develop something for actors. Isn't that true? Not everybody can afford to do so.
No, but then when you cut away all the extras, like the catering and the maybe even, and here's the thing, you had all the execs, everybody was there in the comfort of their own homes. So they must have better for the environment. Let's go with that one.
Mm-hmm. So it will change something, obviously, maybe in the future for you both world with the casting world. I mean, it already starting slowly. I mean, you probably reach a lot more people than you have ever reached doing this whole self-tape anyhow, when it all started. You know?
You definitely reach more. There's more opportunity, I think. But I don't know. It's the same thing. Like in August, September, November, we were all like, we don't need our offices. And then when our third lockdown hit, we're like, oh my goodness, I miss my office so much. I can't wait to get back. I need it. I need to be in the company of my team, just even to ask them how they are. Just ask them, because they're all struggling. Not struggling, but you know, they find it difficult. You know, there's no glass of wine at the end of the day when we have a triumph. You know, we have a bell we ding when you cast someone and everyone goes, whoa.
That's wonderful. Yeah,
you can experience the joys of it together. But we'll be patient, we'll be back. And I think we will be back in person with actors, because I think we'll need it. Directors need it. Directors love it.
How
We'll be
many
back.
people do you have on your team?
I have 4.
4 people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One's stuck in India.
Oh.
One's stuck in Birmingham. Someone's in South London. And I don't know where the other one is. She's in between her parents' house and London.
So they are all working right now on the
Yeah.
new. Can we talk about it? Season 2? Can we say something? Yes, we can say something. I read it. We can
Caprice,
say it
for
out
you,
loud.
we can say something. Okay.
I read it. We can say it out loud. There'll be a Bridgerton 2. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Avi,
Yes.
how many people are on your team?
I have 3 associates and 3 assistants, and everybody's in New York right now. And we're all working, and it's so hard. It is so hard not to just scream to go and do this and that and are you and it's hard. It is hard. It is hard.
No, yeah.
I have to tell Kelly one thing. I was working on a film right before the pandemic. Literally, in March, I had asked the producer if I had to be in LA for a certain reading, because I was scared to fly at that point, because we were just hearing all the horrible things happening. But one of the actors that we had flown to LA was Jonathan.
Mr. Bailey. Oh.
And
Andrew Bridgerton is who she's talking about.
Yeah.
and so I'm so happy for him. I remember seeing him in the hotel, and of course I know what he looked like, but wouldn't know what I look like. And I remember going to the gym that morning and just kind of hiding whenever he would turn around. But he's lovely, so I'm very happy for him.
He is a brilliant example of someone who has worked so hard his entire life. And, you know, he was in Bridgerton first season. He was the journalist in it. And he's done stuff before that. And he's worked and worked and worked. And he's done his dues in theatre. And then, of course, they should do Bridgerton the musical. They can all sing. Jonathan Bailey in Company, I think he won the Olivier for it. In Company was incredible. And then so thrilled for him in the first season of Bridgerton. He was so fantastic. And the fact that this is his season coming.
I know, that's why.
Yeah, this is his year, his love interest and everything. It's going to be fun.
We did the chemistry read.
How did you do the chemistry read? Where? When?
It was in person. I went, but I can't really.
COVID tests and everything.
I was COVID tested here, and then I jumped in my car and I drove to the studios, and we did a little chemistry test.
But that's also a good example of, once again, you know, the tapings, because we didn't plan on this film to bring actors. It was before COVID, to bring actors in from London. But once you let people tape and the surprises come in, you never know.
So you had people
never know.
Yeah. That's true. So I have a couple of questions here. Also not me. Some other people have questions. So no, I'm not going to ask that question. I'm sorry. It's bringing my mood down. They were talking about Brexit. Should I ask that question?
Oh no.
Nah.
Well.
What should we be fair? Does it affect you? I mean, COVID is affecting you. How's the Brexit affecting you yet for European vice versa casting?
It's going to affect it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, of course it is. The paperwork is going to be a problem. We all know that we cast quite a lot at the last minute. If someone's got paperwork in the way, then that's going to be trouble. But productions are going to be on it, and we're going to be thinking ahead, and we're going to try and make it work for actors. You would have seen the headlines. I think it's like our theatres, the National Theatre, will no longer go on tour in Europe.
Yeah.
Well done, everyone who voted for Brexit.
But do you find also more productions, what I like see on breakdowns, are being developed or staying in London or staying in the UK right now, that we're gonna go further? Did you notice that a little bit? No,
I've got a few that are meant to shoot in France and Belgium and Morocco. Well, different. And they are continuing to do that.
Okay.
They are continuing to do that, but we just have to be more organized. We'll work it out, but it doesn't make it easier. It's going to change it.
Yeah. I mean, Avi is in New York, but you're obviously casting projects that are shooting here. You are now working on a project, but we probably can't talk about that right now, no?
Well, we're working on a project that that's actually going to shoot in Berlin in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, any actors that play the cello and they're female and she's early 20s, scream, because we're
and
can't
now
find you.
that's the other question. Now these actors that don't have agents that fit the description, can they write to you, or where do they send their material to if they're not even able to be on certain platforms like Spotlight, Actors Access or something? Can they just send you an email, or how should they go about it?
Oh goodness, there's a website that my office created and I don't know what that email is.
We need to find that.
So we'll find it. Yeah.
For all the cello playing people
All
out
the female cellists in their early 20s.
Okay.
I play the cello. I'm not in my 20s, nor am I German.
No, just not American. It could be anything, just not American.
Just not American.
But I love it that you play the cello. Quite well. Oh, nice.
A little back in the day. Played Salzburg, little Holberg suite. I was second desk though, so I wasn't the lead.
Oh, that's something. You were second.
Third technically. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was second. Yeah,
you were second. Something like that.
Yeah. No,
so, Avi, if you are casting a project that was being shot here, you've been here once. You've told us, no, a long time ago.
Oh yeah. And I'm lucky enough I've been to Berlin many times.
What period piece are you casting? Is it this time?
It's present. It's present day. It's present day.
Okay, that's good to know. Are you managing hopefully someday to come back down here?
Oh yes, yes. I miss traveling a lot.
I think we all do. I mean, this year I got to get dressed a little bit because we are Zooming. Otherwise, I get COVID lazy.
Just from the waist up, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got my PGs on here. Exactly. So some of you have more questions. I think we answered that. Also, Kelly, if you are seeing actors who are not represented for Bridgerton, yeah, of course, you are seeing actors.
I keep on having to delete my server because I'm getting so many emails from all over the world of people who, the show has touched them in different ways. So they're there. I just can't keep them all. So we're looking at things, but here's the truth is that I've got to be careful what I say here. We're in early stages right now. So I'm looking specifically in, we put a call. I can't, I can't say. I'm sorry.
And what do you both think about ageism? Is it okay for people to start their career a little later? They choose to be an actor when they are going on in their 50s. Are you still, of course, you're looking for all kinds of ages because you have to cover all bases. Isn't that right?
True story.
Is a true story, isn't it true? Yeah. So, yes, they are looking for you. That's what I'm just answering here.
We're looking for you, and we're also making sure that our projects are not falling into the tropes that we have been used to for many years, whereby the wife is 36 and the husband is 60. And even though she's 30, actually maybe 29, and in that time she is the head of the company firm and has 2 children, and is still written as, super young. So
yeah.
We try to make sure that, these old tropes are kind of being, we've had enough of it, really, quite frankly, haven't we?
Yes, we have to stay true to times, oder?
Yeah, 60-year-old men can marry 60-year-old women. It happens.
It happens. Okay, and then we have a couple more questions. When people do audition, what is it when they do audition live? Let's talk about the live audition, if you remember still how that was. You still kind of remember how that was. The live audition. What are the etiquettes? Live auditions pre-COVID, was it, hey, shake your hands or not? Do the people do this? Is it okay for them to do so?
You know, even pre, if we see 30 people a day, 20 people a day, I don't shake hands.
Yes.
Because pre-COVID, I would still have to go and no, hi, come on in.
What about the size? Do actors, just a couple questions for some actors, do people are okay to have sides with them if they learned everything, to look at it as a safety net? Is it okay with you guys in a room?
Yes. I don't expect anyone to memorize everything, but if they do this, then I won't get a feeling. I'm sure Kelly, will speak up. So I think I sometimes would ask, I want them to hold them if they need them, but sometimes I feel like if you miss a word, who cares? Just give me the feeling, give me the presence, give me, and that's fine. And memorize it before the director comes.
Yeah, it's quite useful when people do have the size in their hands, that if you want to go back through to something, you want to give a note and you want to talk about something, it might be easier for them to have that in front of them rather than they're searching back into their head. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's not a memory test at the end of the day. It's, as you said, if you can get across the emotion, that's what I'm interested in. And then when the director comes in, come on, be off book, but bring them with you.
That's nice. We only have a little bit more time. So that's why I'm going to do kind of random questions. What is the best compliment someone can pay a casting director? You guys deserve it.
I did a show called The Bisexual for Desiree Akhavam. And when the Twitter comments were coming in, where I was really proud of the cast, and we had a lot of people that hadn't done anything, and there was a lot of people who it was very inclusive, I thought. And there was young girls were even sending private messages saying, I'm crying watching your show because I'm not represented once. I'm actually being represented 3 times in one scene as a person of color who's queer. And I think it was potentially the religion as well. And that means a lot to me. If someone can tell me that I've done something that genuinely makes even just one person feel that they can do something, that for me is the biggest compliment you can get as a casting director. I'd love an Emmy, by the way. I mean, just one would be.
You will, don't worry. We'll all come to your party.
It shall come.
Or an RTOs. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
And Avi, what is one more? Avi needs to answer that question too. We all want to hear what she thinks.
It's funny. I don't know. I mean, now we're going into therapy a little bit. I don't really know how to accept compliments. I'm not very, it's I think what Kelly said is so deeply moving.
We can also say rewarding.
I'll say this, and I have been up for many awards. I don't feel comfortable with awards because I don't think any one person is actually better than another. And so even with the Emmys and all of that, I cherish what I've been acknowledged with. But it's an odd thing.
It's an appreciation. Kelly, we are taking her awards.
No, just one. I'll just have one
we'll
of
just
them.
take one.
No, I appreciate it more than anything. It's the kind of awards that they just give you, like you're going to get this, versus you have to sit in the row and go like,
Yeah.
But I have to admit, we kind of have to wrap it up soon. But Avi, you did some amazing projects, and I want to talk more about these projects, but we have so little time. And Kelly, you as well. And I'm looking forward to your Emmy. You're non-Emmy, and I'm looking forward to all the other great projects you both will
Just
cast.
one.
Yes, yeah, just one. You will
You know
get-
why? Because my wife is so clever, and she's an academic. Look, she's got awards just lying all over the place. It's a doorstop.
But what does she do different?
Maybe she's just better at it.
Okay, it was so much fun talking to you both. Thank you for sharing some
yes,
insights.
you and
Yeah?
Kelly.
Thank
You
you.
made it
Lovely.
very easy. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
both for making it easy for me. I've never done
You're
this
so
before.
elegant, Caprice. Like, isn't she
Yes,
so elegant? Like,
I am. My
wanted
heart
to
is
ask you
racing.
some
I'm
questions.
hot. I'm nervous. Okay, thank you.
oh,
Thank you
wonderful.
so much. I hope to see you.